Hey there, AfterBuzz TV fans. I'm here with the one and only Troy Baker. How are you doing today?
Wouldn't that be weird if I said, no, there's actually three? There's
What?
three of us. Yeah.
There were three of them?
There's two of them stay in the closet, and I came out. That's what a lot of people would expect to hear, is that, I knew it.
I knew you were too good to be true. I knew it had to be a science experiment of some sort.
Oh, a science experiment gone horribly wrong.
Or horribly right. More than one Troy Baker sounds pretty good. But no, there is only one as far as we know. But I believe this is your first RTX. How are you enjoying it
This
so far?
is my first RTX. You believe right. My dear friend Barbara Dunkelman was like, you should be here for this. And so I got to talk to the team at RTX. I was like, I got something to say. And so they let me come down here and say it. So I'm going to say it here in about an hour.
Yeah, you got a panel coming up in a bit. So what's been your favorite part of RTX so far?
You.
Stop.
Yeah. No, it's I've been driving Phoebe, who's my guardian, is kind of like making sure I go everywhere I'm supposed to be at the same time. I've given her a run for her money, for her volunteer money, because I love the conversations that are born. We just had an amazing conversation with people kind of back in the media room about Ready Player One, and just kind of like
nice.
this culture, this community is, if I can be, hazard to be alliterative, is very compelling. And there's a lot of conversation. There's 4 C's I just put right in a row. It's cool. It's crazy. But it's calm.
Those are a lot of C's.
Collectively,
how many C's can you put into one?
I clearly can count concoctively this concatenation of a conversation that we're currently creating. Wow.
Bravo. Oh, no, that starts with a B.
Hey, you should have. Cool. You're gonna.
Awesome. There we go. We'll just go back. That's the end. And now we have to start from Z. But you mentioned that the Rooster Teeth community is one that is it's wholly unique to the internet. It's one that it's so warm, it brings a lot of people together, and a big component of that community is gaming. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you a little bit, because you have a current project right now with a collaboration with Nolan North called Retro Replay.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
I would love to tell you about this. So this is one of those things that is born organically just out of conversation. And I grew up playing these games. I grew up as a gamer. I was an indoor kid. Nolan, he was outdoors. He was playing baseball and getting rough in the streets of Boston. And so he didn't have the same kind of childhood that I did. And I started going back and playing, because like NES has been releasing all these classic games. And so there's a game that I started 28 years ago called Crystalis. And I finally, after almost 3 decades, finished that game. And just the sense of accomplishment and wonder. It was funny because it took me weeks to go through, and I would come out of my office from playing and just kind of post up next to the door, and my wife would look at me and was like, "Are you okay?" I got the Sword of Fire, but I've got to get the bracelet, and I had the bracelet of Wind, but I also have to have the Ice bracelet. And she's just like, "I'm just gonna let you do your own thing." But I talked about it with such fun and admiration. Nolan's like, I want to do this. So we sat down and we started playing through a lot of these old retro games, and producing partners PJ Harsman and Drew were like, let's put cameras on this. And we did, and we put it on the internet, and people have been digging it. And what is always incredible to me is that if you just there's certain components that if you put a little bit of content and you give people access and you do it honestly, people will come and they will feed off of that, and they will create a community. And just walking down here, we did a live stream because our studio, we couldn't get into our studio, and so we're like, we got to create a show. So we went down to this arcade bar that's down the street from my house, and we just set up my phone on Periscope, Nolan's phone on Instagram, and another phone on YouTube, and we live streamed. And I was closest to this, and we joked and we said, that's camera A, camera B, camera C. And instantly people were like, camera B for life. And I just saw a guy in here who's like, dude, can I get a picture? I was like, yeah. He goes, camera B for life. I went, that's a thing now. And people are still walking around going, Sunset Riders. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you just did. Okay. Go subscribe and watch. We played Sunset Riders, and And it's stupid stuff like that. The games really become a platform for the conversation, and there's always, and it's completely unscripted. We have no idea what we're going to say when we sit down. We just did on the most recent episode, we did Contra, and somehow that led to me kind of dissecting a scene in Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, that I believe is one of the most. It's just a bad scene. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. But it's that kind of thing, and we want to give people access, and we want to have fun doing it, and it's so much fun watching Nolan rage quit. It's the greatest gift ever. Like, all I want for Christmas is to see Nolan North rage quit a game. That's it.
And now you can give that gift to the rest of the world.
To the rest of the world, to all of you. You get a rage quit, and you get a rage quit. Look under your chair.
And nothing brings people together quite at Christmas time like that.
The frustration of games.
The frustration of games. But talking about games, there's another game I'd like to talk to you about. It dropped 2 days ago, so I haven't had the chance to watch yet.
Yes.
But you were on a recent edition of Celebrity D&D.
Yes.
Now, again, I haven't had a chance to watch yet, but I'm assuming you played a bard?
I didn't. So Matt Mercer, you would think.
That's what I would guess.
Matt Mercer, who was like, hey guys, we're going to be like a little limited skill set, and limited, there's not only is there class, but we also have to make this alliance and horde, and so he was trying to take D&D and WoW and kind of put them together and into this very, very unique game. So he definitely had his work cut out for him for sure. 2 new people who've never played before, because Terry Crews had never played, I had never played before. And so he was like, here are the classes that you have to choose from. Troy, you'll be playing for the Alliance. I was like, okay. So that automatically put me in a realm. And then this sent out an email to everybody who was going to be on my team. And I was like, Hungry Hippos. They're like, I want to play as this one. And they just grabbed it all up. And so the only thing that was left was a priest, which is okay for a first-time player. Great class. I'm going to stay back here. I'm going to throw out some spells. I can help heal you, whatever. It gets a little weird when you're the captain of a ship. So you're like, if the captain of a ship is stuck in his cabin going, just let me know what's out there. That's not the best captain. And I played it as this big, barrel-chested, swaggering Errol Flynn type character who was really designed to stay in the back and send his troops to their death. So if you haven't watched it yet, it's kind of a shrunken version. It's about 2 hours, and you get to spend some time both with the Alliance and both with the Horde. It's promoting the new expansion pack for Battle for Azeroth, and it's brilliant. And I really give a lot of kudos to Matt Mercer for being able to take that world and put it into not only D&D but also kind of into that, give it that critical role treatment as well. Because again, the greatest thing that they've accomplished more than anything else is that they've created a community that continues to thrive. There's another one.
So talking a little bit about video games.
Yes.
We had E3 a couple months ago, and everybody was really excited to see The Last of Us 2 trailer.
Yeah.
What's it been like coming back to play Joel?
If you watch that first trailer that we put out, which was, oh my gosh, it'll be 2 years in December that we put that out. So we released that at
which was beautiful, by the way. That song
was
is gorgeous.
Right? And that's actually playing and singing. I think they ended up maybe using somebody else. She actually plays guitar, but that's her singing. It was so much fun, and we're back on that set again. And there's Ashley in the suit, and I'm in the suit, and then we start going through this scene, and it's strange because I've got that one line, and I post up on against the door, and I'm just kind of watching Ashley play, and I was like, "What are you doing, kiddo?" And the second that I don't like to tie so much into it, because it's not just, you are not just a voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're a brain, a heart, nose, ears. You're a being collectively. Just your voice is not the one defining characteristic of you. But there was something very familiar and kind of boom, it settled everything because you saw Ellie, but then there's Joel, and everyone was like, we're back. It was a really, really cool moment. And Neil walked up and he's like, I've missed him. And I was like, me too. I've missed this guy. I've been fortunate enough to play some really cool characters, but Joel specifically is a character that I find myself, I feel like the story is incomplete, or there's more about him that I want to know at least. And we found a lot about his past, but I wonder about where he is now and kind of what he's up to, and to be able to revisit that again has been awesome.
Yeah, so when the first game ended, speaking to that, what he did at the end of the last game was, you could argue it was morally reprehensible, but he did it out of love. Mm-hmm. But just carrying that burden, will that ultimately crumble his relationship with that? Like there are a lot of ways you could go in terms of the ramifications of what he did. At the end of that game, when you just as an actor were looking at it and going, if we come back for a sequel, where did you think Joel was going to go? Where did you see his future?
So, boy, that just gets really, I can mire myself very quickly. And my mind is like going through my NDA.
I'm sorry.
No, not at all. What I believe, people want to foster and proliferate this argument that video games are or are not art. And first of all, art does not need to prove to anyone that it is what it is. But if I were to indulge that argument for a moment, I would say that exact moment that you're describing is proof positive evident that it is art, because what it does is, in the same way, and stick with me on this, I know it might be a little pretentious, but in the same way that a Renaissance painting you and I can look at that painting, or you and I can look at the David, and I can see, to me, that is a moment of David immediately after. And the argument has been, is it the moment before he kills the giant, or is it the moment afterwards? And for me, it's the moment exactly afterwards where he realizes that his life is completely fundamentally changed. For you may look at it and go, no, it's the moment before, and he's steeling himself with courage. And we can have a debate back and forth while looking at the exact same thing. That is art. We can look at that exact same moment, and you can say it's morally reprehensible. I can look at that moment and say, morals, his own system of morals is exactly what compelled him to that decision. Because if he wasn't willing to save that girl, then the world wasn't worth saving. Where is he now, and where did I think he was going to be? That was the question that I felt I needed Neil to answer. And we had many conversations over the time where we, wrapped on set. We said, that's a picture wrap. And when we came back, and there were many versions of what happens. Do we go back? Do we go forward? Do we go immediately afterwards? And the beauty is that question will be answered when the game is released, whenever it's released. And I don't know when that will be.
Well, we can't wait. Now, your panel today is called What I've Learned So Far.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil anything, obviously, for anybody who's going to the panel today. But what would you say has been the role that was your most valuable learning experience?
Oh, wow, what a great question. It's hard to distill it down to that one thing. Today I'm going to talk about like different things that I've learned from each role that I've had. From The Last of Us, I learned to not let fear be the reason why I don't do something, because the reward on the other side of that fear could be immeasurable. From working on Uncharted, I learned that doing less is actually far more. So I think every job has taught me something. Every role has hopefully in some ways, as much as I've tried to leave my thumbprint on that character, they have left an indelible mark on me as well. And my job, my goal is, when I'm playing that game, if I've done my job, I disappear and all that I see is the character. And that's the experience that I want to give someone who plays that game as well.
That's fantastic. I'm going to get one more question
Go for it.
Real quick. I wouldn't be doing my due diligence
Yes.
if I didn't ask a little bit about Transformers, because we're big Transformers fans at the AfterBuzz studio.
Go on.
And Steeljaw happened to be one of our favorites.
Yes, brother.
Was there anything in particular you would do to get into character as Steeljaw?
I would quiet myself and not do that little giddy dance, the fact that I get to be in Transformers. That was the first time. They're like, Troy, we're hearing the pitter-patter of your feet right now, especially when there's Peter Cullen. And everyone's just kind of sitting in there, and it doesn't matter who's in that room, by the way. And this has been the way, whether it's been Transformers Prime or Rescue Bots, or it doesn't matter. Like, Robots in Disguise, when we were sitting there, and Peter comes in, and you hear that, Autobots, roll out. And there is just, it's like, you're my cartoon grandfather. I don't care who you are, from the youngest kid that we had in there to the oldest actor, who had no idea really what Transformers was. It's just like a lion roar, and it just moves you on like a genetic level. If that doesn't compel you to your character, if that doesn't get you prepared, nothing else will.
That sounds about right. Well, again, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us today.
You got it.
I hope you have a wonderful rest of RTX.
I hope the same for you.
And I hope the panel goes well. And thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you all next time.